Hello, Eric. How you doing? Thank you for your submission here. Let's go ahead and jump right to your PDF, which I have. Wait, that's not you. There you are. Okay, excellent. So, oh, good job including the images. Nice. Okay, okay. Mhm. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I think the presentation of the word forever is really super aggressive. I think it's too aggressive. I think it's taking away from the hierarchy of the actual work itself in that um, all eyes go right here, and they should all eyes should be going to this area right here where the eyes are. That's where we're naturally drawn to the eyes. Anytime you see an illustration or a picture as human beings, we are drawn right to the eyes. That's true for an animal too. So it's a really using the eyes as a starting point for any illustration and or layout is really a neat thing. You can do some neat things with the eye direction, and you can do some really neat layout tricks with that. So that's something that should be taken into consideration in terms of hierarchy. I would not recommend this super aggressive presentation of the word forever. In comparison to this super aggressive presentation of the word forever, we've got this tiny little iconic American entertainers. So basically what we have here is not a real healthy relationship between your typographic elements. This is itty bitty tiny, almost unnoticeable, whereas this is super aggressive. So I would recommend reducing that. I would say iconic American entertainers is probably a little bit more important than the domination, than the denomination of forever. So you theoretically you could take your iconic American entertainers and span the top, and then use forever maybe down here somewhere. Now, don't forget this is a series, so there should be a high degree of consistency. So typography should be identical on all four, and we don't see that. We see this treatment different here, than this treatment is different than this treatment. So we have three different typographic treatments on four different stabs. That points to inconsistency, and that's something that I would highly recommend that you address. As far as the illustrations, I think it's a great start, but I don't. We're not there yet. These are really fantastic. I mean, you can tell exactly who these characters are the first second you glance. So I could just only say that once you establish, well, I'll get into what I think each stamp needs in a second, but once we get there, I think these are going to be great. Okay, let's start with Samuel L. So we see that this is a very good depiction. But right now we don't have any color. It's just lacking so much color. We got that pink background. There's no shirt color. It's just really underdeveloped. And I highly recommend developing the clothing area. As we saw, that area can be really super compelling, as we saw in the Will Smith example from class. Remember that? Um, right now, I think the eye areas are also underdeveloped. It seems to me like the eye areas, the whites of the eyes are important. Let's get white the whites of the eyes. Also, see if you can't add uh, um, eyelashes are going to be really super compelling too. Um, I think the tonal variation between the shadow and highlight area is too great, because right now we end up if that range, if that tonal range between shadow highlight with skin tone somewhere in the middle, if that's too great a range, it ends up looking like paint on the face, and we can we're approaching that here and here. Almost looks like a painted face as opposed to a depiction of shadow and highlight. I also would recommend that you develop the lips a little bit more, showing a lot of detail there. Um, Good job on the hair. Probably could use a little bit more detail in Travolta's hair. We got these kind of highlights which look great, but maybe one or two more over here. I know they're in shadow in the actual photograph, but that's okay. You can always take some embellishments. Right, the neck area right here, I'm not real sure what that is, but that would definitely need to be adjusted. Um, okay, okay. Oh, Samuel L. Also a little bit more detail in the hair as well. Right now, I would say there's not a whole lot of consistency in the skin tone between um, Travolta, Jack Nicholson, and Jamie Lee. Jamie Lee's in black and white, so she definitely needs more work. And of course Samuel L. is going to have a darker skin tone, sure, of course, right? But there should be some consistency in the skin tone between Travolta, Nicholson and Jamie Lee Curtis. Of course, his would not follow suit, but Samuel L. Jackson's. But definitely, as it's a series, we want a high degree of consistency. I do not recommend stroking Jamie Lee over here on the perfs. That wouldn't make sense in terms of production. Okay, off to Jack. Now, Jack is kind of a unique situation because he's got these curtains and he's kind of, or not curtains, the door. If you remember that scene, he had just smashed the door through with an axe and he poked his head through the door. It's a very, very iconic scene. And I think you've depicted it very well. However, I would definitely try to add portions of this area right here. It would make sense. Otherwise, it just looks like a skinny little tiny itty bitty face. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Does that make sense? Do my comments there make sense? I hope so. Also, if we take a look at Jack, let's get some white and whites in the eyes, whites in the teeth. Again, really, really huge variations between the shadow and the highlight areas there. So, of course, your blacks are going to be black. They're in deep shadow, right? That's okay. But I'm talking about the skin tone, the difference between the shadows and the highlights. Get some color in the lips, in the eyes, the eye color. So yeah, it's just a beautiful start, but there's a lot of detail that are missing. And then Jamie Lee, I think, is the weak link of the series in that just not developed at all. Remember, Erik, remember, this is a series, so there should be a high degree of consistency within the series. And color is part of that. So again, color in the lips here, color in the eyes, the whites of the eyes, the color of the eyes, the pupils, specular highlights in the eyes, that's a reflection, and then development of the clothes and etc. So again, great start with, Jack could use some detail in the hair as well. Well, maybe not. Yeah, definitely could use some shadow highlight in the hair area. Okay. Jamie Lee looks a lot smaller within the frame. If we see, these are relatively close to being the same. As a matter of fact, what I would recommend doing here is try to, you could move Samuel L. Jackson down so that they both take up the same area. I think he's too high in the composition. I think Travolta's too low in the composition. So if the top of the head comes around to the top, middle of the first perf, I think you'd be good. So you want to adjust those. Same thing with Jack. He must take up the same amount of space. But Jamie Lee has taken up this tiny little head here. So in comparison, we can see that there's not a great degree of consistency between the spatial relationships involving the illustration and the picture plane itself. So you want to draw some consistency there. All right, so a little bit of work to do left, but it's a really fantastic start. So let's go ahead and finish these up. If you have any questions between now and Sunday, I know we're coming down to it. It's Thursday, and I probably will be. I'll be in every day doing double time. I'll be away a little bit Saturday, but if you want to run anything by me between now and Sunday with your final submission, please do so. I'll be glad to make additional comments. So again, in summary, really fantastic start, but we need detail here and consistency. All right. So again, any questions, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Erik.